Well, Disney continues to make these mistakes, and they still double down trying to explain themselves. But, when you dig a hole deep as Disney has, you can't dig yourself out. Before we start, if you enjoyed our content, please take this moment to support us by clicking on the subscribe button, liking this video, and sharing it with others. It's a small request, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Once again, as the voice person says, subscribe, like, and share. Thank you very much. Thank you for those that subscribe. We've heard many situations with the Mulan, that the movie has been tanking. We've had the controversy where basically they shot this movie near, this was partially shot in New Zealand, I believe, and the other half was shot in Xinjiang, however you want to pronounce it, which is near a concentration camp where Muslims are being held against their will, being enslaved. The atrocities are through the roof. I mean, where's the world on this? I mean, we're having issues similar to World War II. And, when you see around that people are toppling over statues because of things that they don't like and stuff like that, not understanding in the pretext of history that we still need to see these things. We need to, to know about these things, because getting rid of them doesn't get rid of the issues. It just manifests more the same issues over and over again. And most of the people that are the critics on them are the ones are in the cause of those issues. Here, perfect major example is the way Disney has been handling it. This is right now you have the Brits talking about this. You have people in the House of Commons that have discussed this, that basically that are just completely disgusted on how Disney is handling this. You talk, and if you've been under a rock, Mulan, big movie that you remember, the anime and the live action series, hasn't done well and have all these issues going on. And basically they have not, how can I put this? They have not tipped to the point where, listen, we're really, really sorry. They just want that China money. And they're saying, well, we were the ones who made the issue and stuff like that. But the thing about it is, when you're dealing with China, dealing with any business in China, and I'm saying this every time, when you're China is running the job. It's not that they're sitting in the back smoking a cigarette like a big old Rozzy saying, "We need your peppers. Does everyone have your peppers? Don't like this." That's not what's happening. They are in control of how this is shot, even though they didn't like the end game on it. But they were in control, because and you ask yourself, well, how do you know that, Zane? You can look online, look up how most of these companies deal business. When you're dealing business with other countries, they sort of have a stable road that you have to go by. I'll give you a perfect example. When I was very young, I was taught in history, if you want to deal business in Japan, for an example, you're best off to read a book called The Five Golden Rings. And basically it's sort of like a handbook toward business, even though it's about samurais and stuff like that. It teaches the basis on how the Japanese businessmen runs, how they, how you deal with them. If you ever saw Wall Street 2, and there's that scene where they're dealing with the Asian investors and stuff like that, and how the main character gave over a bottle of liquor and bamboo and all that, and he explains why he did it and stuff like that. That's the things that you have to do. Now, when you're dealing with China, on the other hand, they are in full control. They are holding all the cards right there. Whether you're an American company, British company, Australian, no matter who you are or how big you are, you're in their whim. Now, a lot of questions have been asked. And I believe it was, I'll give you the names on here, Duncan Smith and Baroness Helena Kennedy. I guess they had sent letters to the Disney company So I guess this is a response to the people in the House of Commons. And let me go into this song here. Dear Sir Ian and Baroness... I'm sorry, let me do this straight up. My colleague Tony Chambers forward to me your letter in regard to the productions of the recent release motion picture Mulan, and appreciate the opportunity to respond your concerns and provide clarification on a number of points. The film of the adaptation is a 1,500-year-old Chinese poem. We know that, the Ballad of Mulan. Was designed to showcase the richness of Chinese culture and storytelling. That is true, but things have changed in time. With a tale that celebrates female empowerment, inclusivity. There we go. There we go right there. The poem was made 1,500 years ago. I don't think it basically celebrates female empowerment and inclusivity. It's a story. It's a poem. It's a poem. The person who created the poem wasn't looking toward that. Okay? And when they say inclusivity, you know, when you look at the definition on that, you're saying like someone that a race marginally not representative. But if you haven't looked carefully, there's been a lot of Chinese movies out. A lot. If you look on YouTube, there are YouTubers that just basically, they focus mainly on Asian cinema. And, you know, you're like, well, they're not representative. But let me tell you something. According to current, or no, actually, let me put it this way. In future Oscar rules, a movie like this would not be considered to be Oscar worthy because basically it is not fully represented. You understand where I'm getting at now? By saying these two things, it's not that. It's a beautiful, rich poem. It is. And when you read it, and you're like, okay, I understand the situation. But see, the thing about it is, you have to understand the history of China and the history of the poem itself when you see it like that. You've had a third party take the story and stretch it out. It's the same thing with Snow White, Cinderella, a lot of these story tales and stuff like that. You have to remember, to the situation is, go back and read the original tale. The original tales were pretty scary, you know, on certain stories. Yeah, Little Red Riding Hood, perfect example. Go read Little Red Riding Hood, the original prints, not the newer storylines, not the rewrites and stuff that Disney and family. Go back and read the original print books on this, and you'll find that it's a horror story, really. And the same thing with a lot of these poems and books that are made into today, because they basically they kind of shine them up to make them more acceptable. And the universal themes of honoring, bravery, and family. That's a little bit more closer to what the poem would be toward. Honor, bravery, and family. Because that's what, you know, the original Chinese culture was at one point. You know, you had the honor and the bravery. And family was very important. Like in any culture, family is very important. But yet, the politics that are going on these days, and what you're seeing out there, is that they want to destroy the family. They want to destroy, and they go like, oh, the nuclear family. No, the nuclear family is, we call that today in the United States. But the family element has been around for generations. It's not only the nuclear family, it's basically the family, mother, father, and children. And you may say, so, well, Zane, you know, there are people that are, yes, I do know that. But you have to remember one thing is, like, no matter what, I have no problem of your sexual orientation, you know, on that. But when you're raising a child, the child has to be molded, and basically they should be influenced. Now, I'll give you a perfect example. I have a very large family. I had a mother and father. My mother and father, they separated, okay, for quite a period. But I had women in my family and I had males in my family. Even though I was raised with my mother and my grandmother and my aunts. But I had my cousins. My cousin Frankie, God rest his soul, my cousin Joey. You know, they were in my life as well, me and my brother. So we had that. We had that. You could have a male interaction or female interaction in a family if it's a same sex marriage or anything of the nature. You can have that. It should be honored that way, because basically we need each other, and people don't respect that. They don't respect that. Hey, I'm a Catholic. I always believe the family's mother, father. That it's always very important. If you want to do it that way, that is your issue. But at least try to include an opposite member of the sex in there to help. Because sometimes there are things you won't believe that your kids won't tell you directly. They may tell somebody else, even if it's a cousin, even if it's a friend. They may talk to them better if they're the opposites, either if they're the same sex or the opposite sex. It depends on the person and the issue. Now back to this. Disney has a long time history with this beloved character, having first told Mulan's story in 1998, classic anime, which, hey, that was okay, but I wasn't a fan of it. I love stuff on Asian history. I grew up with a lot of the martial art movies, a lot of the Asian movies, a lot of the Asian anime and stuff like that. Some of the classic stuff, not like the real crazy stuff. I mean, the stuff that had the history on it. I mean, you could go back and say a lot of the Shaw Brother movies from that era, were a little exaggerated and stuff like that. Didn't really show it on there, and then there were others that did. But there were other movies that did show the history and stuff like that of Asia, China, Japan, wherever it may be that they did the movie from. But like I said, today's story arcs are more exaggerated toward as they say, Americanized, or just made to appease a wider audience, which in a way that's wrong. Because they're saying that we are dumb and that we wouldn't understand the situations for that period. I loved Kurosawa. Kurosawa made some of the best films. Ron and a couple of there was so many movies. The Seven Samurai and all these movies I grew up with, and I loved it, and they were very good, and I understood what was going on. And remember, those stuff like Seven Samurai was made into the Magnificent Seven. Even though it was Americanized and stuff like that, they tried to keep within the structure of there, even though it was made in the American West. But still, it was lacking some of the honor that a Asian samurai film would project. In any motion picture production, several factors are considered when making decisions about where to produce the film, including economics, logistics, accessibility, availability of actors, authenticity, to name a few. We know that. Although Mulan was filmed almost entirely in New Zealand in order to accurately depict Canada. No, I'm kidding. Because there's like they do TV series and they say it's New York City. No, it's Canada. And if you see some of the older films, like the Canadian films, it's like it's supposed to take place in New York. It's Canada. A couple of horror films on there. In order to accurately almost entirely in New Zealand, in order to accurately depict the unique geography and landscape of China for this period drama. I got a question. Why couldn't you film it in Thailand or any of the other countries? There are plenty of other Asian countries out there that are similar to China. I wonder why. The producers choose to film some of the scenery in 20 locations throughout the country, including the Kumtang Desert in Xinjiang province, home to an important passageway along the historical Silk Road. Yeah, it is the Silk Road, but there have been a lot of controversy in that area, and especially with the Muslim concentration camps that are there as well. I mean, there's always been an issue in that area. And when you look at it to perspective, and there's film footage, there is total film footage, there's satellite footage, there is, there's government footage, there are human rights footage that show that these areas, Disney knows that this was here. There's no doubting that basically saying like, well, we didn't know. You don't think you researched the area, know what's in the area? You had to do security. You had to do a security check before you filmed there. You know, when you did that check, you saw that, hey, what's this camp over here? So, you know, don't give me that. The decision to film each of these locations were made by the film's producers in the interest of authenticity and was no way dictated or influenced by the state of local China officials. Call bullshit on that. It also bears nothing that the filming of the desert scenery occurred over a brief 4-day period compared to the 143 days of filming in New Zealand. And the footage comprised of 78 seconds of the 1 hour and 55. See, the thing is, who was this? Sean Bailey. Sean Bailey here was trying to make his opinion there and says, oh, everything is fine. There's nothing behind the silk curtain behind us. There's nothing there. We were only there for just a little bit of time. We had no idea that there's China had no bull. If you go and look online, it's an easy Google search. There are many pages that have talked about this, even Wikipedia. There are companies that will even tell you when you're dealing with China as a business, as doing business there, they hold all the cards. They will tell you where to go, where to shoot, especially in film. They'll tell you where to shoot, where not to shoot. If they agree with this, believe me, they had to have had someone sitting in the editing room when this was edited. I guarantee you. Because the Chinese were not going to let a motion picture of this nature be released on there. And they do tell you. I mean, perfect example. Look at the Star Wars poster with John Boyega. Look what they did to the poster. They put him from being on top to way little back in the end there. That is a big issue on that. As you are well aware, all multinational companies that are doing business internationally must abide by their own country's policies and applicable laws. See, they in the next line, he already says it. That is the most hysterical thing. He doubled down on, okay, we had control of it, but we have to go by the rules and regulations of China. Globally, businesses have strong presence in China. Hundreds of global companies, including dozens of Fortune 500 firms, operate throughout the country and all required to comply with relevant laws and regulations. The laws and regulations are you must bow to China. Plain and simple. They don't have the control there. They don't have full control there. And the other half is some things are stolen from them. You know, product is stolen. Ideas are stolen. You know, this is why we need to stop. We need to start bringing back everything back to here. Forget about giving movies to China. Forget about them. Because I'll tell you honestly, the people who do truly want to see a real good movie from the United States, they're not going to the movie theater to see it. Even though they're making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money in China. A lot of people are BitTorrenting over there. Or they're getting copies black market wise. Believe me, it is happening there. In the same vein, there are regulations that must follow by all foreign film production companies wanting to operate in China. See, there again, he's doubling down. These companies are not allowed to operate independently. Ha ha ha! Let's repeat that again. These companies are not allowed to operate independently. Gee, I wonder if the people of Lord of the Rings were held back by New Zealand when they were filming in their country. I wonder. I don't think so. And must partner with a Chinese production company, which is responsible for, let me get to the next page here, securing all filming permits in the case, Beijing Shadow Times Culture Company Limited, Beijing Shadow Times, a private company that has worked extensively with the U.S.-based film studios who contracted to provide production-related services in China and run by China. And the company began to submit requests for permits with state, local government entities in 2017. During the period, neither the UK nor the US government had issued a risk advisory for the businesses, nor made any relevant policy ruling to this region. Okay, let me explain something. You're an independent company, okay? The Uyghur people have been this way for quite some time now. Quite some time. This is something that's been in the news. This is not. It's not been front page, but it's been there. You don't need the government to tell you, well, don't go film over there. Do a minor Google search. You don't need the government to tell you, don't shoot there. Okay? They have what their situations are with these countries. They can tell you, hey, don't film here because. But it's their job not to tell you that unless it becomes a major issue, which in this case, the UN should be warning all companies of this nature. Not the United States, not the UK government, the United Nations. But like I said, a Google search online, you will find many articles about what is going on there. You will find organizations that have been screaming about this for quite some time. This is not something new. This has always been there. Disney, you've been dealing business with China for years. You know what is going on there. Last paragraph. It is a standard practice across the film industry worldwide to acknowledge in the film credits the cooperation, approval, and assistance by various entities and individuals over the course of the film productions. That is correct. That is correct. But you don't. How can I put this easy? You don't put in the people that are the slave masters, or the people that are murdering in there. You wouldn't put the Razzies in there if you made a film in Germany, would you? Even though they would try to put it in there, you wouldn't want to think to put it in there. In this case, the production company Beijing Shadow Times provided our production team with a list of acknowledgements. Oh, how convenient! Of acknowledgements to be included in the credits for Mulan. For reference, see, here it is right here. Let me repeat this. In the case of the production company Beijing Shadow Times, they provided the production team with a list of acknowledgements. That means China, do a bad version of Trump here, China gave you a list of what to put in to acknowledge in the film. For reference provided here, the example of the credits of other films shot in international locations. Hope this clarified puts the issue sincerely, blah, 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 blah. Now, Disney and Sean Bailey, you could point out every company that deals with China, but we're talking about you. We're not talking about Paramount. We're not talking about, well, no, 20th Century, your own 20th Century. We're not talking about Columbia. We're not talking about any other company, but we're talking about you. You specifically were in a country and you put yourself in a situation that basically allowed you to film in an area where people are enslaved, where people are murdered, where they're being brainwashed. But here's the important part of this, and I'm going to put a clarification on this, and you're going to love this, folks. You're going to love this. You banned filming in Georgia because they put a abortion bill. Was it Georgia? I believe it was Georgia. a abortion bill to protect children, and you refuse to shoot there now, or to deal with any business there now. And the same thing with the NBA, same thing with a lot of other companies, but yet you're dealing with a country that has slaughtered thousands upon thousands, maybe millions of people, enslaved them, taken their organs, their hair. Probably YouTube's going to ban me on this one. They're probably going to flag this one, but their hair, their organs, they take their children and brainwash them. They brainwash the people on there. Most of the stuff that you're getting on, when you purchase and it says made in China, most likely it's probably been made with slave labor. But there are people out there that complain about the slave trade, the original slave trade, which has been long gone in this country, and try to tear down the walls of the history of it, not knowing that we need those statues and flags and all that to understand where we came from, so we don't end up like this. Because that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen again. It's going to keep happening until somebody puts their foot down. And Disney, you need to put your foot down on this. And every other company, every other film. There is no dollar amount. There is no dollar amount that you could say that puts you in the right on this. There isn't. Because how much does a human life matter? What does it cost to you? There's going to be a point. People are going to start, you already seen what happened. They're going to be parts where they're going to start not coming to your movies or renting them or watching them. They're going to start not coming to your parks. You're already hemorrhaging. You're hemorrhaging money now. Do you need this on top of that? I plead to Abigail Disney out there to please try to rein in back control of this company. This company needs to be brought back under a Disney family member. And I'm talking to the board of directors. You guys need to go back, because Walt is turning in his grave. Because Walt and Roy made some great stuff, great storytelling back in the day. They had a great imagination. No matter how you felt about them, they had a great imagination. They brought something forward so beautiful, and now it's so perverse because you inject yourself into this. You don't want to deal business with a company that are protecting a city or state that's protecting children, but yet you're dealing business with someone who's torturing children, who are torturing people, killing people, enslaving people. So let me know in the comments below, how do you feel about this? Do you agree or disagree with me? Because I'll tell you, this is just, some days these are just sickening things that when you see this, the more and more things that come out. And the thing is, they can't defend themselves. As much as you could have the best lawyer in the world, you can't defend yourself. It's like having the knife, getting caught with the knife in the back, and you're stabbing the person several times, and the cops walk in as you're stabbing the person, and they're saying like, well, I wasn't here. You have the knife in the back. You put the knife in the back. You stabbed it several times, and there's nothing you can defend on that. There's nothing you can do about that. So let me know in the comments below. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking, and don't forget to, that special word, share this video. We'll catch you on the next one. I know we went a little bit long on this episode, on 2 or 3 of these episodes, but this is important information we need to get out. Thank you for being there. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?